Have you ever met a man who doesn't chase women, yet seems completely comfortable in his own skin? He isn't putting on a show or begging for attention. He just is. And for some reason, that quiet confidence is magnetic. This isn't some guy who's given up on love. Not at all. This is a man who has gone through a massive internal shift. He's opted out of the exhausting and often demoralizing game of pursuit. And by doing that, he's tapped into a level of attraction that chasing could never create. This video explores that psychological journey. It's about understanding the move from a man who chases women to a man who attracts them, not with lines or tactics, but by completely rewiring his inner world. This is the psychology of the man who stops chasing, and it points to a powerful truth. Genuine, effortless attraction isn't the goal. It's the natural result of a life lived with purpose. Let's get real about what the chase feels like for most men. It's a constant low-level hum of anxiety. It's that feeling of your stomach dropping when you see she's read your message, but those 3 little dots never appear. It's the mental gymnastics of trying to write the perfect text, something witty but not try hard, interested but not desperate. It's spending money on dates that feel more like stressful job interviews, where you're the only one applying for a position you're not even sure you want. It's the slow drip erosion of your self-respect as you double text, overinvest and rearrange your schedule for a few scraps of her inconsistent attention. We're often told this is just how things are. Movies and music have sold us this story where the man has to be the relentless pursuer who wins the girl through sheer persistence. But they never show the psychological toll. They don't show the guy whose sense of self-worth skyrockets and plummets with every reply he gets, or doesn't get. They don't show the burnout, the bitterness, and the feeling of being totally powerless when your happiness depends on someone else's approval. The chaser acts from a belief that he's not enough on his own. He thinks he's missing something, status, worth, a sense of being complete. And he believes a woman's affection is the final piece of the puzzle. He puts her on a pedestal, which automatically puts him in a position beneath her. He isn't trying to connect with a person. He's trying to win a prize to prove he's worthy. This is a game you can't win. Even if you get the girl, the dynamic is already broken. You've established that you're willing to work harder, invest more, and value her approval over your own peace of mind. You've set the stage where you are the performer and she is the judge, and eventually every judge gets bored. The constant chase leads to burnout, resentment, and a nagging feeling of being completely unseen. It's a frantic, needy energy, and that energy is the very thing that repels healthy, genuine attraction. The harder you chase, the more they pull away. This isn't a failure of effort, it's a failure of strategy, based on a flawed psychological starting point. The man who finally breaks this cycle doesn't learn new ways to chase. He finally understands why he was chasing in the first place. To stop chasing, you first have to understand the mechanics behind the impulse. The urge to chase isn't just romantic passion. It's usually a symptom of something much deeper. It's a machine running on 3 powerful fuels: a need for validation, fear, and social conditioning. First, let's talk about the validation loop. For the man who chases, a woman's attention can feel like a rush. Every notification, every like, every yes to a date can trigger a small release of dopamine in the brain. Dopamine is a powerful neurotransmitter tied to motivation and reward seeking. The problem is, this validation often comes on what psychologists call an intermittent reinforcement schedule. It's unpredictable. Sometimes you get the reward and sometimes you don't. This uncertainty doesn't make you stop, it makes you try harder. It's the same principle that keeps a gambler pulling a slot machine lever, convinced the next pull will be the jackpot. You get hooked not on the woman herself, but on the possibility of her validation. Your brain gets locked into seeking the next hit of approval. This is why you can't stop checking your phone, why you overanalyze her every word. You're caught in a dopamine-driven loop, constantly looking for something external to make you feel good about yourself, even for a second. The second fuel is the engine of fear. Underneath the chase, there's almost always a deep-seated fear. The most obvious is the fear of rejection. Psychologically, sharp social rejection can activate some of the same neural pathways in our brain as physical pain, which helps explain why it hurts so much. For many men, the idea of being alone or unwanted feels like a threat to their identity. Chasing becomes a desperate sprint to outrun that fear. The flawed logic is, if I'm the one pursuing, I'm not the one being left behind, I'm in control. Of course, neither is true. This often comes from a core feeling of low self-worth, maybe tied to an anxious attachment style developed earlier in life. A man who feels insecure at his core believes, consciously or not, that his value isn't built in. He feels it has to be given to him by others, especially by an attractive partner. Her approval becomes the ultimate proof of his worthiness. So, losing her interest isn't just a dating fumble, it feels like a final verdict on his value as a man. He chases not just because he's drawn to her, but because he's running from the terrifying thought that without her approval, he's worthless. The third fuel is simply the societal script. For generations, men have been handed a cultural blueprint that equates masculinity with pursuit. The hero's journey is almost always about winning something: the battle, the treasure, or the princess. This story is burned into our consciousness. It tells men that to be a man is to be assertive and relentless. To be passive is to be weak. But today, that old script is a trap. The rules feel confusing and contradictory. Men are told to initiate but warned not to be creepy. They're expected to lead but also be equal partners. This cultural mess can feel like a no-win scenario. Follow the old script too closely and you risk being seen as pushy. Abandon it, and you risk being seen as passive and unconfident. Trapped by these forces, the chasing man is exhausted, anxious, and not himself. He's playing a role he was taught, driven by a chemical feedback loop and a deep fear. The only way out isn't to run faster, but to stop running entirely. The only way out is to change your mind. The moment a man stops chasing is the moment his journey turns from outward to inward. This isn't giving up. It's a quiet revolution. He isn't giving up on women. He's giving up on the idea that a woman is the answer to his own internal state. This is the great transformation, a pivot from seeking validation to generating it yourself. This transformation stands on 3 pillars. The first is shifting from external validation to an internal foundation. This is where a man takes back control of his own emotional well-being. He makes a conscious choice to cut the cord between his self-worth and a woman's approval. A useful way to think about this comes from self-determination theory, which suggests that our well-being relies on 3 core needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The chaser often struggles with these. His autonomy, his sense of control over his own life, can get handed over to the person he's pursuing. His mood, schedule, and decisions all start to revolve around her. His competence gets measured by his success in the chase, and his need for relatedness, or human connection, becomes desperately focused on one person. The man who stops chasing takes these back. He builds autonomy by making his own life the main event. His decisions are guided by his own values, not the hope of impressing someone. He builds competence not in the game of pursuit, but in things that actually bring him fulfillment. His work, his health, his skills, his character. He's no longer trying to prove his value, he's busy building it. And he finds relatedness not just from a potential partner, but by deepening his friendships and family bonds. His happiness is no longer this fragile thing that can be won or lost on a dating app. It's generated from within, a product of his own purpose. His worth is no longer up for debate. The second pillar is shifting, from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. The chaser lives in a state of scarcity. He fixates on one woman as if she's the last oasis in the desert, believing she holds the one and only key to his happiness. This creates enormous pressure and neediness. Every conversation is filled with the fear of losing her because in his mind, losing her means losing his only shot at happiness. The transformed man adopts an abundance mindset. This isn't just about telling yourself there are plenty of fish in the sea. The real abundance mindset is the deep down knowledge that your own life is already full. It's abundant with purpose, hobbies, friends, and goals. You're your own source of fulfillment. A woman is no longer a necessity to complete your life, but an amazing person who could join you on a journey you're already loving. This immediately kills the needy, desperate energy of the chase. He can talk to women freely and authentically because the outcome doesn't determine his well-being. He's not interviewing her for the job of savior. He's just exploring a connection to see if her world fits with his already great one. That lack of attachment, that freedom from a specific outcome, is incredibly attractive. The third and most important pillar is the shift from chasing to building. This is where all the energy, time, and focus once wasted on the chase gets redirected inward. The man stops trying to win a spot in her world and starts building his own. You can think of it like becoming a king in your own kingdom. A king doesn't run out of his castle to chase down every visitor. He focuses on making his kingdom so prosperous, vibrant, and secure that it becomes a destination. People want to go there. The transformed man does the same. His kingdom is his life. The walls are his boundaries and standards. The treasury is his career and financial health. The gardens are his passions and his physical well-being. The court is his circle of good friends and family. He pours his energy into that kingdom. He goes to the gym not just to get a body women desire, but because he respects himself and values discipline. He works on his career not just for the money, but because he's driven by a mission. He learns, reads, and grows not as a performance for someone else, but for himself. He's no longer a hunter. He's a gardener, tending to his own garden, knowing that if he cultivates a beautiful place, the butterflies will eventually come on their own. When a man does this, something incredible happens. The entire dynamic of attraction begins to reverse. Now, this process of building your own kingdom is a journey. It requires a real shift in where you put your energy. For many men, the tough part is knowing what to build and how to build it. It's more than just hitting the gym. It's about connecting your actions to a deeper purpose. Now let's look at what happens when you fully step into this new reality. When a man truly makes this internal shift, his whole world changes. He no longer has to push to create attraction. He generates his own gravity. He becomes the destination. This new reality shows up in 3 powerful ways. First, attraction becomes a byproduct, not the goal. For the chaser, getting the girl's attraction is the entire point. For the transformed man, her attraction is a natural side effect of his life. He is so engaged in his own mission and growth that he gives off an energy of quiet confidence. This is what people are deeply drawn to. A person who has their own world. A partner wants to join an exciting journey. She doesn't want to be the journey. When a man's life is full, he doesn't need to brag about it. People can see it. It's in how he carries himself, the passion in his voice when he talks about his interests, and the way he respects his own time. He isn't desperate for her attention because his attention is already on things that matter to him. Women sense that he isn't a void that needs to be filled, but a force to be joined. Attraction is no longer something he has to work for. It's just what happens. Second, he develops authentic, grounded presence. The chaser is always performing. He's like a salesman constantly adjusting his pitch. The grounded man isn't performing. He is simply present. He listens. He says what he thinks, honestly and with respect. He's okay with silence. He isn't trying to impress. He's trying to connect. This authenticity is magnetic because it comes from a place of security. He isn't afraid that saying the wrong thing will scare her off because his self-worth isn't on the line. He can be vulnerable because he knows it doesn't make him weak. He can disagree without being disagreeable. This creates a feeling of safety where a real connection can actually grow. A woman can finally relax in his presence, knowing she's with a real person, not a walking, talking persona. That quiet, grounded presence is far more powerful than any loud attempt at showing off. Finally, he reclaims his frame. In relationship dynamics, people often talk about the frame, which is basically your perspective, your reality, and your boundaries. The man who chases is constantly giving up his frame. He'll change his schedule, his opinions, and his standards just to please her. The man who has stopped chasing holds his frame. This doesn't mean being a rigid jerk. It means having a strong sense of self and clear boundaries. His yes is a real yes, and his no is a real no. He values his own time and energy, and he won't let it be wasted by people who are inconsistent or disrespectful. He invites women into his world, but he doesn't tear down his world to make a place for them. This strong frame is attractive because it signals stability and self-respect. It communicates that he is the leader of his own life. A woman feels that a man who respects his own boundaries will be able to respect hers too. He's not a leaf in the wind, tossed around by her moods. He's an oak tree, rooted firmly in the ground he cultivated himself. He doesn't have to chase because he is the destination. Understanding all this is the first step. Applying it is what creates the change. If you're ready to start, here are a couple of practical ideas. First, consider a 60-day internal focus period. This isn't about playing hard to get, it's a detox for your brain. For 60 days, commit to a simple rule. You don't initiate contact with women for the sole purpose of getting a date. No more compulsive social media checks for validation. No chasing. Instead, you redirect 100% of that mental energy into your own kingdom, your health, your career, your friendships, and learning a new skill. This period starves the validation-addicted part of your brain and allows you to build a new baseline of self-worth. During this time, learn to use a simple invite, don't chase filter. Chasing comes from neediness. It's the double text, the demand for an answer, the pursuit of someone who is clearly not interested. Inviting comes from confidence. It's a clear, single offer. For example, I'm going to a concert on Friday and would love for you to join. You state your plan, you make the offer, and then you let it go. The outcome doesn't break you. If she says yes, great. If she says no or is flaky, your response is a simple, no worries, maybe another time, and you go enjoy the concert anyway. You are inviting her to join your life, not putting your life on hold for hers. This approach starves the needy chaser inside you and feeds the confident, grounded man you're becoming. The journey from a man who chases to a man who attracts is one of the most important shifts a man can make. It's a move away from a life of seeking and proving and toward a life of being and building. It's the deep understanding that your true value isn't something you win from a woman's approval, but something you forge in the fire of your own purpose. This man isn't passive, he's intentional. He's not cold, he's self-possessed. He doesn't love less, he loves from a place of strength. The peace he builds in his own life becomes his most prized possession, and he won't trade it for the chaotic thrill of the chase. He knows that the right relationship won't demand that he lose his center. It will meet him there. The ultimate secret is this: you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. When you stop chasing validation and start creating value, the world can't help but notice. You stop trying so hard to win at love, and in the process you start learning how to truly live. And a man who truly knows how to live is the most magnetic man of all. If this message resonated with you, subscribe for more deep dives into psychology and personal growth. And I have a question for you. What's one chasing behavior you're going to stop? And what is one thing you will start doing for yourself instead? Share your commitment in the comments below. Let's build a community of men who are focused on becoming